Hello, welcome to Country Stitchers. I'm Liz, and this is our Hakuna Matata series. Deb is not with me. We're observing our stay-at-home ordinance, and she did the first half of this series. We're going to be going back and forth between the two of us and sharing what we're doing with each other through YouTube, as well as our subscribers and our viewers. So I hope you enjoy it, and we're going to get some time that way to catch up with each other, which we wouldn't otherwise have. Although I will say this seems pretty empty without her. I have her and McKenna up on the laptop just to keep me company. It is very early in the morning right now. We might hear the neighbors come out of their house with their puppy. Ivan might comment, I'm not sure. But it's quiet. I was very busy today and thought that I would do this afternoon, and now it's early the next morning and everybody has found a spot to get comfortable, and I was awake and I decided this was the best time for me to do this. So no matter what time you're viewing it, thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to give you a little backstory on the Hakuna Matata. Deb and I both like Disney and Hallmark. We'll often come up with quotes from movies or songs from Disney. So when we were talking about this time and the stressful nature of going through something that no one's ever experienced before, that just came to my mind. I don't know if I'm Pumbaa or, let's see, I'm going to get their names mixed up now, but the two of us are seen in our minds walking across that little bridge of land singing our song, so we're having a good time with it. I have been going into the craft room looking for things that I might not otherwise be looking for, and I have found so many things that are in the process of being finished, whether it's finishing them in the way I want to display them finally, and they're already finished being stitched, or whether they just have a little stitching left to go and then they would be finished and ready to be put into some form of display. So I pulled out several things from some classes Deb and I were at Nordic Needle that are hardanger, and have been working on those this week. That's been fun, and I'll show those to you. But before I get into what I'm working on and some of the things I'm finishing, I ran across something that was seasonal for Easter that made me chuckle, because I used to get them out every year, and we had a little centerpiece we set up on the dining room table, and we used to put these in there. Those of you who remember the first Leisure Arts magazines that came out, it was within the first year I started stitching, I think, was when the magazine started. And I had found a cross-stitch store up in Maine, nearby this little town we lived in, which was really unimaginable because there were only 4,000 people in this town. The neighboring town was Wilton, which is where G.H. Bass was, which I ultimately ended up working for after I moved to Maine. But at the time, I was home with my first child. Carrie was just born, and I was stitching, and I ran across this needle workshop, and they had the magazine. And in one of those early issues, they had these cute little eggs that they did on ribband, and they put them on these little silk eggs. And there were a few different patterns. Those are the chicks. They had this little design. Now, I did shortcut this process. If you've seen this, you know that the way they suggested you do it is to just repeat that pattern the whole way around the egg. But with a new baby and going back to work in a couple of weeks, I decided that I was going to do them because I liked them, but I was going to do a little quicker version of them. So I only put one set of the design on each of the eggs. And then I think originally I did 4 of each, and I had a big basket of them. And over the years I would stick one in something I gave to somebody at Easter, or put together a centerpiece of some kind and stuck it in. So Now I have, what do I have? About 7 of them left. But I just think they're so cute. The chicks were one of my favorites, and those are the last of my little chickies. So anyway, this was Kevin's Easter basket when he was a little guy. So I wanted to share those. I think they're fun. I get them out every year. Now, let's start with something that I did share with you last video that Deb and I did. I had just pulled out, I should say mothballs, but I would never put this in mothballs. I had these little pieces I had stitched, and I was going to put them into a pillow. This is the one that I had the ticking with, and this is the way you turn it. I mentioned this. You just put a little opening in the back, and then you applique a little piece of fabric or felt over the back when you're done stuffing it, and close it up. But that's the one I want to finish. And then this is the little gone stitching pillow that I thought was cute. I did not like the way the cording that I put in looked, so I took it off, and I'm going to fix a new cord to the top. This was just a little freebie pattern somebody was sharing one day. And again, it's finished the same way with the opening in the back. But I wanted to do something on the sides with some ribbon and beads. So I have a couple of containers of different beads. These are cat's eyes, just all mixed up in different sizes and colors. And I keep those around for something I might want to use them on. And then the other set that I dig out for edging are these, I think they're called E-beads. You can buy these just about anywhere they sell tubes of beads. And this is just a variety of them that over time. I acquired these because my older sister introduced me to crocheting beaded jewelry. And I fell in love with that. And I did several bracelets one year. And these were the types of beads that you used for the bulk of the bracelet, and then you made charms that were scattered throughout. It was out of a large magazine. It was a beading magazine. Anyway, it was fun. So I keep these around, and what I did was I just kind of scoured those 2 containers, and I pulled out a variety of gold beads to kind of go off of the scissor color, and then also the fabric in the back. Those will go around the edge. And then on the larger pillow, I pulled out some different size cat's eyes in that pink color to go with this one. Now, I'm going to use some ribbon, and I'm sure you've seen it, where you sort of crimp the ribbon and attach the beads and hook it on the edging and go all the way around. And I have a small fob I finished that way. I'll show you in a minute. But I also got to thinking about all the different types of ribbon I have. And initially, I grabbed what first came to mind, which was this acrylic ribbon. You've probably seen it all, 99 cents a spool or 4 for $1, depending on what sale you hit. And these were always in huge bins at A.C. Moore, Michael's. So I was going to use the gold on the one pillow and this mauve on the other. Then I started thinking about what I have tucked away, and it occurred to me that I have some silk ribbon. And I thought, why do I never think to get that out? So these silk ribbons are not over-dyed, but I bought them a long time ago. I have several colors. I'll just pull out a few. But you can see I have that sort of darker mauve, and then I also have a gold, sort of gold brown, some blue, some white. And that was an option. But it's about 1/4 of an inch, whereas those other 2 are closer to maybe 5/8. Yeah, maybe a little bit closer to 1/2 inch. And I liked them better on the size of the pillow. But then I also, just to share with you some of the different types of ribbon and edging that you can find. I pulled out, so far so good. I thought I would have all this on the floor while I was showing it to you. I pulled out some of the different over-dyed silk ribbons that they do. This is by a company called Petals, and it's very pretty. That's a mauve, dark, mauve probably is not the right word. That's more of a deeper red. This is kind of a peach, and again by Petals. And then I forget, the colors on this are Daisy and Desert, but to be honest with you, I cannot remember whose ribbon these were, or if they came perhaps in a kit and I didn't use the ribbon for the kit. But again, these are still over-dyed silks. Another Petals. This is called Black Cherry. I should check what they called that color. I couldn't think of the name for it. Oh, Berry Cobbler. Okay. That's what they called this one. And then you'll see that Silken Colors does silken ribbons also. I'm sure you've seen those hanging in the shops. This is a pretty blue. And then SJ Designs had this confetti edging. I'm not sure what I'll use that for. It was different. I was just trying to expand the boundaries of my stash. And then Karen makes a similar type of edging to that. Looks almost identical to it. And then last was our retreat at the Jamboree, and Vicki Clayton had over-dyed silk also. And I bought this green to go specifically with a project. I honestly could not tell you right now what that project was. I'm sure it'll come to my mind when I get ready to finish it, but right now I don't remember what it was. Anyway, so there's all kinds of edging you can use on these pillows. There is a woman named Sue, a friend of Deb and mine. We met through Country Stitchers, and she just does the most beautiful work finishing these kinds of things, pillows. And she sent me pictures, and I'm going to use that as a reference, and I may even give her a jingle now that I know she's not going to be busy, at least outside the home. She lives in Pennsylvania also, and just maybe run some of these ideas by her and see what she thinks. Okay, I said I would show you the one that I did finish. On the last video Deb and I were together, she mentioned that I had another finish. She said, don't you have a shepherd's bush finish, one of your pieces to your sewing kit? And I said, no, I didn't have that finished. I said, I need to finish it, but I didn't have it finished. Well, she knew more about my things than I did, because, in fact, I remembered when I saw it sitting in the bin. I had just dropped it in the wrong bin was what happened. And it is the scissor fob that goes with that Shepherd's Fold series. And I had stitched it quite a while ago, and it was in with all my finishing things. So I had put it together, and I had stuffed it with sawdust. I wanted to see how that worked, and I really like the way it finished. I like the weight. I like the way it hangs. And then that's the flip side. I don't know if you can see the little sheep at the bottom, but they were fun. They're a little road stitch on there. And then the crow, and it says home on it. Now, this is the beading and the crimping, and this is a very small satin ribbon, probably 1/8 of an inch. And then you just arbitrarily put the beads on as you attach the ribbon, and it makes a very cute finishing. So, that fob was done. Thanks, Deb. So, got that done. give you an idea of that. I actually, you'll see on the thumbnail for this video, you may have seen all of the different pillows and fabric laying there, or different cross stitch pieces. Those are all eventually going to be pillows. That's the finishing work I have sitting there to do. I have difficulty at the sewing machine, and so that's a structural thing with my back. So I have to either decide to do them by hand and do them in the evenings while I'm watching TV instead of stitch, or maybe enlist somebody else's help in finishing them. I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll have somebody do the pillow part, and then I can do the decorating part or the edging, however I want to. So I'm on the fence about that. I did have a project that I finished. You'll remember a couple of times I was working on this when we showed our progress in stitching. It was the Thimble Purse by Brenda Gervais. That was given to me to stitch by a friend of mine, Stacy. She had stitched it and I had seen hers and I really liked it. So Stacy, I finished the stitching part. I did make some changes. It's hard to tell by this picture, but the picture made the lady look as though she was in a blue dress. That was a fib. It was Mountain Mist. It's that green, sort of that ha-ha green they use on the photographs in Blackbird Designs, the shower, April shower stocking I did too. That looked blue, and it was also Mountain Mist. So I actually did make this one blue. So she's ready to go. You'll see she's quite small. And I substituted a couple of colors. They used apricot blush for the face and the legs and hands. I used carnation because I didn't have apricot blush. They called for Shaker White for the little apron on the front of the little lady. And I used Shabby Sheep. And then the last thing was my substitution for the Mountain Mist. I used Banker's Gray. So, my little girl's going to have a blue dress on. And as I went to look at finishing this, I found out that they're using a new glue I had never seen before. It's called GS Hypoxy, I believe is the name. And GS Hypo Cement. It's evidently a jeweler's cement, and it's used to do all kinds of jewelry adhesion, but it's also used for watch crystals and things of that nature, so it dries crystal clear. And it's what's used to actually affix the purse. You line this purse and then you use linen on the back. So it has a full lining like a stocking, and then the linen and the stitch design. And then once it's sewn, this top portion here slides up into that groove that's in this metal fixture. I'm going to open that at an angle. It sort of looks like Jaws. You can see that deep groove there. And what you do is you use that GH Hypo glue and you put a bead of it all the way around the inside, and then you slide your fabric in and it adheres it inside the purse, and then it's done. So there's very little hand stitching to do. You can actually sew the whole purse together and just sew up the little seam where you turn it out when you're done. I am waiting on the glue. I did order it. It's in 3 stores locally, but we're not supposed to be out shopping, so I went ahead and ordered it on a site that had no shipping charges, so that was nice. and it should come. It probably, according to the site, won't be here till the end of next week, so we'll see when I actually get it put together. But I did want to show you the lining. I picked out two choices. I know now which one I'm going to use, but I thought I'd show you both of them and let you be surprised when I do finish it. But this one has a nice tan background, and it also has a dark blue calico print to it, and that was one choice. And then this is the other choice. I had this in my stash. I think this came, a piece of this I got from Deb, this fabric, to finish one of the pillows, and there's enough there to do this little purse as well, so I'm excited about that. I have two options. So we'll see which one I do, and I'll surprise you with that when I get it all put together and that glue arrives. I had shown you the finished piece that we got on our retreat at our spring retreat last year with our guild, almost exactly a year ago in April. And this pattern by JBW Designs is really cute. They went ahead, our guild went ahead and put in a card with the floss and the two flosses to use as a tassel maker, and then a piece of fabric. I believe the linen was in here, the fabric was in here. Oh, okay. The skeins were in here as well. I guess they just put the card with the floss in so we could do this little project while we were down there if we wanted to. I pulled the threads before I saw the card that was stuck inside the fabric, so I had stitched mine without it. And so I also made a change in this, and I thought I would show you the stage I'm at with this finishing. This is the piece I stitched, and I put some specialty stitches in here on the flowers that makes them look kind of fun. This is a piece of stabilizer. It'll get ironed onto the back, and then you cut your face piece, your design piece out. I've already taken the time to cover my comic board or cardboard. I actually used the back of a notepad. I liked that weight of cardboard, and I chose, instead of using the green, because I'm not a green and pink person, I chose a piece of blue and white gingham that I had in my stash. And on the one piece of cardboard, I put a little bit of batting behind it when I attached it to the cardboard. And then the back piece is also loaded with gingham. And then ultimately, when I finish with my fringe, I will, I'll be done. But first, you sew the two pieces together after you put your linen piece on. Now, what I wanted to show you was, when Deb and I did our tassel video, we made some different tassels. One of them was with Moe's Sail thread that I had 3 different colors in it, and we tossed it in, and I thought it was really interesting because it has blue, yellow, pink, white, just a myriad of colors, and I'm going to roll it up and show you. This one was already in my tassel bin. That's kind of fun. And that would be what it would look like if I ran it along the outside. Picks up those colors. And then the other one we had used was a variegated blue and white. And I believe this was might have been a pearl cotton that I pulled out that was in my stash. We were looking at different weights of thread when we did the not tassels, I'm sorry, I said tassels, I meant cording, when we made the cording. And that's the blue and white. And that goes nicely too. So I'm sort of on the fence there. I have 2 options, that one or that one. And then I pulled out 2 more colors that I may just choose to blend together and tone it down just a little bit more. Take away the white and add a green that goes with that darker green to the blue and give it a completely different look. I'm actually inclined to go with this. I think I'm going to make the cording first and see what I think. So anyway, that was today's playtime when I wandered into the craft room with my cording options. So I'll be putting that together as well. And then I had something I had located in my finishing basket. I had done this a long time ago. I had seen someone take a little class and they had used this Graziano, and you had seen the bunny I did in the last video that had the pink and white on the one side and the light tan and white on the other. And I mentioned they had a yellow and white and a green and white celery colored and a blue and white. And I knew I had had some blue and white somewhere. Well, here's the blue and white. This is what it looks like. And someone took a class, and in the class they did a box lid and just made like a little Ort box. And they used each square and did a road stitch and then alternated with another stitch. And I just thought that was the cutest. So I pulled out some wildflower thread that I had that was in those colors and did that little pattern, but I've never finished it into anything. I just took note of what it looked like and then did it when I got home. It's really pretty. So I'm still trying to decide what to do with this. I think it's cute. It's a little too big for a fob, a little small to be in a frame. Doesn't have much pizzazz as just a frame piece, unless I put it maybe into something where the frame is more than just a frame. Anyway, so that'll be fun. Lately, I've been busy, like I said, working on some things that Deb and I had at class in Nordic Needle. This goes back to 2011. I just have to juggle this because I don't want to have to pick it all up off the floor. Okay, I'll set this first piece aside because this is not the heart hanger. Now, this came to mind, again, it was seasonal. It was called Heavenly Hyacinths. It was a class taught. Let me show you the picture. That border goes the whole way around. It's a doily, if you will. So I wasn't sure why. I had the bottom done almost all the way around with the hills, they call them, those little satin stitched blocks that are in triangular shapes. And then I had done the faggot stitch over those hills on the bottom and put one of the hyacinths in. And I couldn't figure out why did I stop doing this, because as I recalled, that went really quickly. I almost had all that done in the classroom. Well, I found out why when I sat down to try to work my way back to where I was and start again. I was off count the whole way around. So I had gotten going, but it was to no avail because it's supposed to be 207 stitches square, and mine was 213. And I had added an extra thread to each hill. And I don't know why. Must have just been the way I was looking at it when I did it. So I took all the work out and started again, and I'm just finishing the last side with the hills. That's what those little blocks there are called. And there's a particular number of spaces in between each one with a reduction in the size spacing on each end when you come up to the corner. They call these nests when you come up to the corner nests. And then this stitch here, this pulled stitch, you can see it's not centered. That's because I left it there just to give you an idea of how far off my stitching was. And then The stitch that goes, let's see if I can show you this. This is the stem of the hyacinth. Then you have a set of blocks that you stitch to form the actual bud, and then you have that finishing stitch that goes up and over each of these hills, and then there's a finishing stitch that you do to finish the doily all the way around, or you can frame it. Some people framed it, so it was pretty that way also. So I thought that would be fun, and I have enjoyed working on this the last few nights. It's been different, and I haven't done that in quite some time. This was fun. It was a bookmark class done by Carol Peterson. She's very, very talented instructor and designer. It was called It's a Wrap, and she had many designs that we could do. The long bookmark there that you see with the sort of peach colored flower in it, those are dogwood blooms. At the bottom is a bluebell. Then that yellow one is, let's see, the butterfly. Then the purple one is a violet. And at the very top, see if you can make it out, that's actually a truck. It's got 2 wheels, a slanted cab, and then the bed. I think you can make it out if you look at it that way. So anyway, those were the patterns we could choose from. And I chose the bluebell. And then I think initially I was going to do the violet because I wanted to learn that wrapping technique. But now that I've looked at it again, I really am enamored with the dogwood. So I'm going to do the dogwood. And it's the same design. We had pre-stitch, which was to do the outside work all the way around on our bookmarks. So we arrived with all of this outside hardanger work done and the inside on both of these, but none of the threads cut. And then while we were in class, we learned how to cut the threads for these and then started the wrapping. And that's the wrapping. Let me see if I can make my bluebell a little bit more visible. That's the first one that I did. So I need to finish those. And then I can start my dogwood, and that'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them total? Yes. 5 of those flowers in this other bookmark. So that's going to be fun. And that's not, it's not difficult. You have to pay attention till you get the technique, but it's very fun to do. And while we were there, they announced that Anchor was no longer going to be making this weight of pearl cotton. What was that? The number 12, I think. So I picked up the spools of the colors that we were using in case I wanted to do some more of them. That was what they had left. And then they gave us a variety of colors that we could wrap some bobbins and bring them along back in case we wanted to add some different things to a bookmark and had a little extra thread. So I've got plenty to do some bookmarks for grandchildren, or maybe somebody I know who likes to still read paper books and not electronic books. And then the last hardanger piece I pulled out in this stack of things I was working on was actually the one kit I bought while we were on the retreat that I just really liked the way it looked, and I always wanted to do a biscornu. So this was the first biscornu I picked up. And it's called a Victorian biscornu. And the color is very pretty. It's done with Threadworks pearl cotton. And I stitched the first half quick as a whistle. All I have to do now is wrap those 4 and do the center emblem. That's the detail work. That's fun. But that went really, really well. That I had no problems with it. And I realized, oh my, I'm almost out of thread. How can I be out of thread? It called for 1 skein. Well, I was stitching the way I always stitch, and I was using my thread folded over, or doubled, I should say. And that's why that's so full. So I went to another shop and bought another skein, so I had two, and then I started working on the second one. The back of it, it's identical front and back, so it's just a mirrored image. And now I'll have plenty of thread to do both of them, but that was kind of funny. I was thinking when I was doing it, wow, this seems a lot harder than the other hardanger I was working on. Well, it was, because I was trying to put two threads through the same hole, and it was a much smaller canvas. This was 24 count Congress cloth, as opposed to the 22 count normal hardanger cloth, so it's just a little bit tighter. So this should be fun to finish. And then along the same lines, quite a while ago I did a little Seika pattern. I had two of them. I bought these, I believe, when I was at Silver Needle on retreat. They had a bin with some things in it, and these were there. This is the one I was currently working on, called Ice Cream Cone. Only I changed it to be strawberry instead of mint chocolate chip. And the first one I did was tulips. And that's what that one looked like. And it finishes very easily in the back. You just bring it together. And I filled this one with poly pellets. And that was very easy to do. And I am going to make a tassel for the bottom of this, as well as one for the ice cream cone. And I'm almost done with that now. All I have left to do on the ice cream cone is finish the, bottom third of that. And then I'll be putting this together as a fob. And I'm going to do the colors on this. When I do it, I'm going to use a yellow tassel, I think, on this one, or brown. I'm decided between the two, either the ice cream cone or the background for the tassel. And then the tulip, I'm going to use that, either the yellow in the center or the darker green as the tassel, I believe. I think I decided against the blue on that one. So those are coming along. Before I go any farther, I do want to talk about a giveaway. We forgot to mention the Laura pattern design that I was adopting out last video that Deb and I did together. So that pattern is going to the Stitchy Nail Tack. So if you can contact Deb, her address, email address will be in the drop box or the description box under our video, and let her know that you would like it and your address, and she'll get that off to you. And also, we had a little bit of a mix-up last week when we announced the winner for Henrietta. So we actually have a new winner for Henrietta. I want to thank Shiloh for letting us know that she hadn't actually entered it. We mixed up the names that we had in front of us, and Shiloh's name was there for a different reason. We were talking about other things, and so the name of the person that actually is receiving Henrietta is Susie Q. Scott, 1954. So, Susie, give Deb a holler, and Henrietta will come your way. So, and again, thanks very much, Shiloh, for letting Deb know that you had not entered that contest. That was our bad. Thanks a lot. And I'm sure Susie will appreciate that. Let's see. All right. Before we get wrapped up here, I just wanted to say that one of the things you might want to think about while we're home in close quarters is some of the things that maybe you've put off learning or thinking about starting or trying. This is a great time. I have 3 things I'm going to be pulling out that I've wanted to learn to do and haven't tried yet. But I'm not going to mention them. I'll show them to you as I go. And as I conclude here, I will, on perhaps the next video, take you on a small tour through my curio cabinet. I haven't done that, I think, since very early on. We've added a couple things to it, finishes along the way, and it's always kind of fun to go look through that in the living room and see all the different little smalls that I've made, and my mice collection is growing. That's something else I could be adding to while we're all looking for more things to work on. I did pick out one more thing. It's just kind of fun. Deb was saying how she just wanted to start everything. I said it must be sort of a stitcher's anxiety response or something. Just go start everything you have. But this pattern by Country Cottage Needleworks, Afternoon in London, I've always liked this series that she did with the different cities. And I've been working on that, so I pulled that out. I have not done any additional work to it, so it's still at the same place. This is on Water Lily. It's very pretty fabric. I got it from Jen's Stitching Niche when I needed the fabric. She got it to me quite a while ago. But that's Big Ben in the middle, and I'll work out from there. So that's going to be fun. And just as a hi back to Deb here, as I wrap up, she was showing her hallway, and she pointed to a pattern that she got from her aunt, and she said she had no idea what it was. I'm sure by now somebody's commented to her, but she forgot that that was a pattern that I had asked her about several times because I wanted to stitch it. And when I saw her video, I thought, oh my gosh, that should be a pattern I pull out. It's all DMC floss. It's so pretty. And it's called Wildflowers, and it's by Cedar Hill. And Deb forgot. We did find it. We found it. We were in Strawberry Sampler. I'll never forget. We were walking back through, and as we rounded the corner at the far end of the shop, I turned and I saw this pattern just hanging all by its little lonesome. It was in the midst of several other floral patterns, but I looked at it and I thought, oh my gosh, that looks just like it is. And I grabbed it and I tracked Deb down in the shop and I said, look what I found. So, Wildflowers by Cedar Hill. That's the pattern that was on her hall wall. I don't think there was anything else I was going to bring you up to speed on today. That's just kind of what I've been doing here. I hope you've got a favorite project in your hands. I am going to try to build a playlist while I'm home during this time, and I have been finding some really fun things on YouTube to watch that are outside of the subset of floss tube. In fact, they're not needlework related. They're more, they appeal to my movie buff side. So I'm going to put some of those links in there for you, and maybe you'll enjoy them too. There's very little you can't investigate or find on YouTube. So if you have a lull and you just want to change what you're watching, use that search engine on YouTube and you'll find all kinds of fun things. Thank you very much for joining me. And the next video you'll see after mine will be Deb's. She'll have another one up, I'm sure, before too long. And we'll see what she's been working on. So Deb, hope you enjoyed seeing what's going on at my house. And I look forward to seeing what you've been working on since your last video. And as always, share the joy of needlework. Bye-bye.